Hi, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about your work-life balance. Okay, so I apologize, my voice isn't back yet. I'm on the mend. Hopefully by next week it'll be back to its normal levels, but hopefully you guys will bear with me while I sit here and sound like this, and I'll be back to my normal nasally sounding voice or whatever next week, right? So today, yesterday I talked about splash screens, and I said I'd answered a question. I couldn't remember who had asked it. Apparently it was Ihana Moments from back on episode number 76, and he'd asked a bunch of questions, right? He'd asked like 8 questions. So today, there was another one on there that I wanted to address. So today I want to answer one of those questions. One of his questions was, if you woke up every day at 4 or 5 and work the whole day, sorry, but do you think you are balancing work and family time? My wife complained to me, I have a 1-year-old boy. This is a problem, I think, this is something that I think all parents have. It's trying to balance the professional life and the home life, and it can be really hard. Now when I say that I'm in the office all day, on a good day I'm in the office all day. There are days where I have lots of errands to run and everything like that. Today's a good example. Today's one of those days where I was up at 4, in the office at 4:20, right, and I worked until 7, went to the gym, right, went home, saw the kids off to school, came back into the office till about 2, and then I had a bunch of errands. I had to run kids to different places, and I also had to make dinner because my wife was working today, so it was my turn to make dinner. And like there's a couple days a week where I have to make dinner, and let me tell you what, you don't want to eat the dinner that I make, because I know how to make like 4 things, right? So it's like this constant rotation, but it's never a surprise, for the kids anyway. So today was one of those kind of days. So right now it's 9 p.m. I'm back in the office. I'll probably be here for another couple hours and then go home, just because I had that big gap in the day where I didn't get much done, like, work-wise, that I'm going to go back, I'm going to work for a few more hours tonight, go back home, probably go straight to bed, get up and come back in the morning. But tomorrow's going to be like more of a regular day, right? And this is, there are days that are like that. As a parent, you have things to do at home. Or you have, family things, and sometimes, you feel like you're lacking on one side or the other as you try to balance it. It's one of these things where I always feel like, you're lacking, like I'm lacking in one area, and other times I feel like I'm lacking in the other. But one of the nice things about working, like doing something yourself, when you're not going off to an office somewhere, working until dark, coming home, and and then never seeing your kids. At least if you're around, or if you work from home, or if you work a short distance, it's easy for them to come see you, or see what you're doing. But it could also be a lot of distractions. So, but I don't think there's any way around that, really. It's just so it's one of those things. There's always going to be as a parent, you're going to have to play both sides of the plate. You're going to have to do both things, and sometimes it's going to be really hectic. I can remember a time when my kids were really small. Like when I was starting the Overpass stuff, I told you this. Like I would take a couple years off and try to just go out and find clients and everything, and then so I'd send off like a quote to a company, and I've been waiting for them to call me back. Right? It was like days and everything. I'm waiting by the phone like a lonely teenager. Oh, why won't they phone? Right? And then the phone finally rings. Like there was a day that I was working from home. And, it was like a day where the only thing I had to do that day was pick one of my kids up from school, right? And it was like, I think for some reason there was only one of them that I had to pick up, right? And so they phoned like a half an hour before I had to leave, which I thought was fine, right? And so I'm talking to the prospects, and I'm trying to sound very professional, right? And they just kept talking and talking, and it got to the point where I'm trying to just sort of wrap up the conversation. I'm trying to say, well, definitely there's something we'll look into, definitely, And then they kept going on, and I didn't want to tell them, at the time I didn't want to tell them that I was working from home and I had other family things to do, because I was trying to be very professional, right? So, but in the end, I finally had to tell them, I'm sorry, I have to run. I'll be happy to call you back in about an hour, but there's just some situations. I don't even think I told them I had to go pick up my kid from school. I think I just said it was a situation. I don't know why. Now I would tell anybody. I was like, man, I gotta go. Whatever. But back then I didn't, right? So by the time I finally got them off the phone, I looked at the clock and there was like 5 minutes for me to get to the school before the kids got out, right? And the school was like 3/4 of a mile away, and and I couldn't drive because there was no place to park, so I had to walk, and there was no way I was gonna make it. So I quickly slammed on the phone. I ran down the stairs. I didn't have time to put shoes on, so there was some flip-flops by the door. I put some flip-flops on and just dashed out the door, and I ran full speed to the school, right? And I don't know if you've ever ran like in flip-flops. It's like slap, 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 slap. It makes the worst noise, right? So I sound like a horse galloping. So I dash off to the school. And by the way, this wasn't in the summer. This was like in it was like late fall. So like I'm wearing jeans and like a kind of a dress shirt and these flip-flops, and I'm just hightailing it to the school. It's like down a hill, up a hill, right? And then so as I'm running, as I get closer to the school, I can see other parents leaving with their kids. A few, like they've obviously got out before. So I'm like dashing to the school, like not even breathing really hard, and then I run up to the school, and then they are standing outside the school with the teacher, a few remaining kids whose parents hadn't showed up, right? And you get there, you go, you've been waiting long, right? And all the other parents, as I'm passing all these parents, because they don't really know who I am. They know who my kids are. They know who my wife is. They don't know who I am, but they're just like this guy who occasionally just, takes really fast runs into town. So, so I pick him up, and I actually felt better that, I wasn't the last parent to get there, because I could have like a little bit of, moral superiority. But like, aside from 1 or 2 other kids, like everybody was gone. So and my little boy sitting there, big smile, and the teacher just sort of, right? And you're just like, just doing it, right? There are times when you're trying to do that, when you're trying to be like a parent, and to manage your family life and your professional life, where you're like, it just feels like you're constantly apologizing. Like, I'm apologizing to my family. It's like, I'm sorry, I have to work on this, or I'm apologizing to clients, or to, if I'm working a job, I'm sorry, I have to go do this thing. And always, constantly, like, and sometimes it feels like you're lacking in both areas. And there's times where you feel like, you think, if only I didn't have the family obligations, I could just focus on work, I'd be so much better. But then, like, you immediately switch over and go, if only I didn't have so much work, I could focus more on my family, right? And it's going to be hard, right? And sometimes it just feels like you're leading this dual identity where you're trying to do both things, but that's part of the game. You're trying to be, to be the parent, and then, or be the family man, and also be the work person, right? And and you feel like you're always running around, always busy, because especially if you're trying to build something, if you're trying to do your own app or your own business or whatever, you're trying to build something bigger than yourself. But your family or your kids, you're also trying to build something bigger for yourself potentially, right? So, I mean, they're both, you can't ignore one for the other. Right, so you're constantly busy, and then you'll run, and when you'll get to a point where you look at somebody who like somebody who's really young, and they'll be like, they'll say, "What did you do this weekend?" Say, "Oh, I played Xbox all weekend." You're like, "Wow, you played Xbox all weekend," right? Or you'll talk to somebody who's like older, but they either they never had kids or their kids have grown up and moved out, and they'll be like, "Oh no, I spent the whole weekend doing a jigsaw puzzle. It was so relaxing," or whatever. You think, yeah, okay, right? And then you'll say, you need to take it easy. You need to stop running around so often. You need to calm down. You need to you need to stop and smell the roses. You need to relax. And you're just like, kiss my butt. You don't have time to do that. There's so much more to do, right? If you want more than everyone says that. If you want more than other people have, then you have to do more than they do. And it's not easy when you have kids. But you know what? It's better doing it when you have kids. They're not a liability. They're a strength. You have something to share that with. And one of the nice things about working from home, if you do apps, as opposed to being in an office where nobody knows what you do, you leave and come late at night, is that you could say, they could come in and say, "Hey Dad, what are you working on?" And you say, "Oh yeah, I'm trying to do this thing with the thing," or whatever. And most of the time they're not interested, but sometimes they might show a little bit of interest. And when they're smaller, it's going to be lots of interruptions. It's going to be very difficult. But one thing I've never really wanted to do was was be like, I'm so important, you guys, you must leave me alone. Although sometimes you're on a phone call and you have to go down and say, you know, you guys need to keep it down here. And this is one of the reasons why I moved into the office, was because it wasn't fair on the rest of the family. Like every time I had like an important phone call, to tell everybody to be quiet, like, you know, because it's not an office, it's a house, right? They should be able to be, they should feel at home in their home. So that's really important. Anyway, so that's it about family life. I hope it, you know, I hope it makes sense. You know, ihana moments, you know, don't worry about, you know, you're going to be busy, right? You're going to be busy with both things. I think that's a normal thing. I think it's a healthy thing. And anyway, that's just my opinion. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.